And my numbers, my comparison of 390 to 420 doesn't even take into consideration if you need one Culligan call or one call to a service individual to your house. I understand they run $60–70. So if you need one service call, you actually be spending more to have the service at home than you would.
And it doesn't take into account the actual purchase of the
the hassle of actually keeping up with it and the dangers of maintaining it.
An old man like me getting a bag of salt down the stairs.
Yeah.
Like I have kids.
Dale, have you got the copy of that?
Are there any other questions, any further discussion? Curtis?
I need to ask a question that's related to this, but it's not exactly this.
Okay.
There's no public forum later, so is it all right if I continue and ask a question that's merely related to this and not about this?
I don't have a problem with it.
Very well. Are you guys saying with this move that it's your intention to make everything the city does, or at least this, self-sustaining?
Your utilities are typically self-sustaining entities.
Is that an attitude that you guys have about everything, or are you just going to hold it to utilities?
I'm only basing that upon what is traditionally presented to us by the state auditor as far as the basic principles of managing your budget.
What about the opinions of council members? Are you guys like, do you guys like everything being self-sustaining or just utilities?
Depends.
I don't know.
What other things you're talking about?
Well, if you need to
It's really a misnomer question though, Curtis, because the police department cannot be self-sustaining.
Right.
They would have to write 1,000 tickets a month just to be sustaining.
The fire department can't.
Right. There are different departments of the city that even on their basis, especially all of the public service for that matter, public safety, they cannot be self-sustaining entities. They rely on the general obligation to be able to support the local community.
And going back to the water rates, I'm glad to see that we're, and I'm sure Mike doesn't really appreciate it, but taking 40% or 10% of your staff away. Because I believe if we're running problems, we got to cut expenses as well as raising revenues. I think we'll have to looking at everything we do.
But I think we need to look at rates every year. It has to be on an annual basis. It can't be every other year, every 3 years. You got to do it annually. Otherwise, you get way behind.
This is going to actually, when the public, they hear about it, I'm sure they can appreciate, like Jim was saying, we're utilizing our resources by cross-training or consolidating our workforce by putting 2.5 men in each department. But it's also going to raise some topic on some of the other funding that the city does as far as with the schools, the rec center, Kids World, the 2080 agreement and stuff like that. There's expenses there. I know people don't want to hear it, but there's expenses there that could be cut to lessen the impact too.
Each utility has to be self-sufficient. You're not supposed to take money from one utility and pass it on to the other.
On a long-term
basis.
basis.
On a long-term basis.
On a long-term basis,
yes, but it's actually illegal to do that against state law. So as far as taking gas utility money and putting it into the gas department, you can't do that. On a short-term basis, you can. On a long-term basis, you can't do that. It has to be self-sufficient.
The worst thing is going to happen too with sewer rates when they get the new plant. That's going to.
Yeah, I mean, what's that say for us right here?
Snyder's doing an evaluation of that.
I think Adam and Sandy and the staff here need to be commended for actually doing the digging and doing a good accounting to see where we're at, so that it's not just finding out that 7 to 9 years that it's city's broken. So I think this is well presented, and it has a good visual. And as far as, let's say, being addressed in the paper, anything visual, like in this bar graph form, I think that makes it very easy to read and understand. I'll repeat myself once again. I think the public, once they realize what we're going through.
I think a copy of this should be made public. I don't think you or Sandy need to explain everything on it, but I think that if people want a copy of this, they should get it,
Agreed.
look at it, digest it. If you got questions, come back and ask.
And I think it's based on factual information. It's
Yeah.
based on long-time factual
Technical
information,
data.
which is very, very crucial in making decisions on these things, taking the guesswork out of this.
I think Curtis had another question.
Okay.
You had started to address it with the comment you were making while I had my hand raised.
I'm sorry?
You had already started to address it while I had my hand raised.
Okay.
If there's no further discussion on this,